Hello, my name is Miriam and I'd like to welcome you to EnglishConversationLessons.com. Today's lesson is about the present perfect tense and the past simple tense, and it is aimed at intermediate students of English. First, let's take a look at how the verbs are formed. We start off with the past tense on the right. For regular verbs, all you have to do is add ed. For example, the verb to want becomes I wanted, add ed. For verbs ending in e, all you need to do is add a d. So the verb to love becomes I loved, just add d. And for verbs ending in a consonant and the letter y, you need to change the y to an I. As can be seen below, the verb to study, which ends in a dy, becomes I studied. You change the y to an I. Now we look at the present perfect tense, and this is formed by an auxiliary verb, the verb to have, and the past participle. Now for regular verbs, the past participle is like the past tense. So in this case, to study, I studied in the past tense and I have studied in the present perfect tense. Now let's take a look at how to form the negatives and questions. For the present perfect tense, I have studied is the positive. To make it into a negative, we need to add not and put that in the middle of the verb. So I have not studied. And for a question, we change the verb and the pronoun around and say, have I studied? Now if you go to the past tense, I studied is the positive. For the negative, we use the auxiliary of the verb to do in the past, which is did. So, I did not study. Same for the question. We put the verb first and the pronoun after. So, did I study? Next, we will look at the time framework for each verb. So, on the left, you have the present perfect. You have the graph there, the past and the now, and then the words today and this week. Now this symbolizes an unfinished time. Today is still going on and this week is still going on too. So the present perfect we use with unfinished time, whereas on the right the past simple, again we have the past and the now. And you can see the little yellow box is all in the past, so this is a finished time, and we use the past simple with words like yesterday, last week, in 2010. These are all finished times. And here we have some examples. So for the present perfect, the time has not yet finished. As an example, I can say, I have eaten 2 sandwiches today. Again, today is not a finished time. It might be the afternoon and there's still evening to come. So I have to use the present perfect here. I have eaten 2 sandwiches today. Another example, she has bought a dress this week. And once again, this week is not a finished time. And because of that, we have to use the present perfect. She has bought a dress this week. Whereas on the right, with the past simple, the time is finished. So, for example, I say, yesterday I ate a cake. Yesterday is in the past, it's a finished time. And she bought a dress last week. And once again, last week is a finished time. So for finished time we use the past simple, whereas if the time has not finished, we use the present perfect. Another difference between the present perfect and the past simple has to do with how important time is for what we're saying. When we speak in the present perfect, the time is not really important, whereas in the past simple tense, the time is important. So, for example, I have done my homework already. We don't know when I did my homework, and it is not important. What I'm trying to say here is that it is ready. So I have done my homework already. But I did my homework yesterday. Yesterday is a finished time, and the time is important in this case. It is a finished time, so I use the past simple. I did my homework yesterday. We know when it is in the past, and with the word when, one clue is that with the word when you use the past tense. So if you ask when did you do it, you'd use the past tense. I did my homework yesterday. Another example, I have not finished my work yet. In this case, I know that my work is not finished and I don't really care about the time. Whereas, I finished my work an hour ago. Again, an hour ago is a finished time, so I need the past simple there. The present perfect is used to give recent news, whereas the past simple is used to give old news. In fact, if you listen to a news bulletin on television or the radio, you'll often hear the headlines being given in the present perfect tense, to show that this news is recent, it has just happened, whereas then they go on to speak about what actually happened, to give the long story in the past simple tense. For example, the headlines may say, there has been a car accident on the motorway. There has been, to give the impression that it's recent news. Whereas in the main news they would go on to say, one person died in the car accident. This is a state of fact in the past, so we use the past tense. We can also use the present perfect to say something has just happened. For example, I'm in the kitchen and I'm cutting some bread and the knife slipped. So I can say, ooh, I'm bleeding. I've cut my finger. I've cut my finger. It's recent. I have just cut my finger. Whereas if I'm telling a friend later on, I would say, I lost a lot of blood when I cut my finger. When I cut, that is the past simple tense. Another difference between the present perfect and the past simple tense is that with the present perfect, the action is linked to now, so that action is still happening, whereas the past simple, the action is over. So for example, John has lived in Rome for 2 years. Has lived is the present perfect, which tells us that John still lives in Rome today. Whereas Mary lived in Rome for 2 years. Now she lives in London. Mary lived in Rome, that is the past, so we know that Mary no longer lives in Rome. Now, one thing about the present perfect that you should note is that when we use the present perfect, we are interested in the effect of the action on the now. So the effect of the action is more relevant, more important than the time of the action. I am interested in the effect, but not in the time. For example, I can say, I have eaten a cake, so I am not hungry. I am not hungry now, and the reason for that is because I have eaten a cake. I might have eaten a cake in the past hour, for example, but what I use the present perfect to show the effect. The effect is that I'm not hungry now. So we don't know when I ate the cake, but it's not really important. What is important is the effect that I'm not hungry. Another example, I have not finished my work. I don't really care about the time. All I know is that the effect on now is that I still have work to do. And have you ever been to London? We use the present perfect in this format, which have you ever done something? In this case, have you ever been to London? We're asking about your whole life, so in your life, from when you were born up till now, have you ever been to London? So we're starting in the past and continuing up till the now. So I'm interested in the action itself, if you have been to London, not when it happened. If you were to answer yes, I have been to London, then I would ask you, when did you go? I would use the past simple, when did you go? And you'd reply, I went in the year 2005, for example. Now, the last point in today's lesson, we look at some time words which we use with the different verbs. So with the present perfect, which we said started in the past but leads to now, and the effect is more important, we use time words like recently, so far, in the last few hours, in the last few days or weeks, since Monday, since 2001, for 10 weeks. So all these time words relate to a start in the past but leading up to the now. Whereas with the past simple, which is a finished time, we speak of a time which relates solely to the past, like 3 hours ago, 4 days ago, 2 weeks ago, or yesterday, last week, last year, last summer, on Monday, in December, obviously on Monday in the past and in December in the past, or from 2000 to 2010, again it's all in the past, or when I was young, when I was at school. If you need help with English, why not try English lessons online? My name is Miriam and I teach English online via Skype and an interactive whiteboard. We can practice conversation. I can help you with grammar or preparation for English tests such as the IELTS, TOEFL or TOEIC. I give business English classes and I can help with job interviews and CVs. I tailor lessons to your own individual needs, so whether you're a beginner, an intermediate or an advanced student of English, please get in touch with me on www.englishconversationlessons.com. I hope you found this lesson useful. Till next time, goodbye.